Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the latest edition of Sustainably Talking Live. Today, we've got two guests from the United Arab Emirates. Now, as you probably know, I assume you know, is that the EU has been lagging a little bit behind, has sort of been backtracking a little bit on regulation of late, whereas the UAE has been, if anything, has been pushing further ahead. So I thought it'd be particularly interesting, therefore, to find out what's going on in the UAE at the moment, what's going on with regulation, what's going on with sustainability. So that's why I thought today should be a particularly interesting show. And also, why is sustainability becoming a matter of survival? And so today we're joined by Krishna Aditya Allah and Priya Gunjan. Krishna is a sustainability professional who is passionate about product and construction material, LCA, PCF, EPD development and decarbonisation, while actively supporting climate action and diversity conservation through volunteering. Priya is a GHG auditor, recently presented a research paper on the power of renewable energy driving a sustainable future. So stay with us and we'll be back with you in 30 seconds. Right, well, I thought I'd quickly introduce the guests. Hello, Krishna.
Hi.
How are you today? And whereabouts? I know you're in the UAE, but whereabouts in the UAE? And what are you up to at the moment?
Hi, Michael. Thank you for that. I'm in the most northern part of the Emirates in the UAE, called as Ras Al Khaimah. So we're very close to the mountainy regions of the Jebel Jais, a little more colder than Dubai, as where Priya is supposed to be at. Thank you for this opportunity, and I'm really amped up to be on this show. And right now, I'm at my home and it's really hot outside and it's a bit cold inside. So because of the temperature fluctuations, I've got a bit of cold and I'm a bit under the weather. So yeah, I guess everything is just as dandy as it's supposed to be. So thank you. Yeah.
Well, okay, well, I'm sorry to hear you're a little under the weather. I think everyone in Britain right now is struggling in their heat wave.
Right.
What about you, Priya? Hello. I know you're in the
Yeah.
UAE, but whereabouts are you and what are you up to these days?
Hi. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Krishna, for joining this show. I'm glad to be part of this show. I'm basically in Dubai. I'm currently in my workstation, but having this easy sustainability talk and glad to be part of this show. So at present, we are having discussion on the sustainability survival. So let's begin.
Okay. You still there, Priya?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Hello from Frankfurt. Frankfurt. Nice to see you. Always love it when people dial in from all over the world. Let's bring Krishna back in again. You're coming and going today,
Right.
Krishna. So I thought we'd go straight into the discussion today. So sustainability
Okay.
is often described as the right thing to do. So why has it now become a business survival strategy? Krishna.
Right. Michael, I believe that sustainability for a long time has been sought after as a something along the lines of a compulsory thing to do or something which people thought we might get away by doing it. But right now it is the right thing to do because people are getting a bit more enthusiastic about sustainability and climate change, and everyone's getting a bit more on their moral compass and just saying, hey, it's the right thing to do, so we have to do it. And I believe even organizations and companies across the globe have decided that, yes, in order to survive, we have to embrace this open arms of sustainability for us to function cohesively and in harmony. Uh, yeah, and also there's different government regulations and compliance checks, and then there's economic profits to being sustainable in the longer run for companies, and for companies who have embraced that in the longer run are seeing the fruits of it. So I'd say it's not just about the right thing to do; it's also that try to make the best out of it by embracing it. So yeah.
All right, thank you for that. I was thinking the other day that I mean it's so hot here at the moment, and it's throughout all of Europe. And yet, still, I go to social media, and people are still doubting whether climate change is a reality. Or they say, "Oh yeah, but the climate's always changing, but it's not caused by humans." And I just wonder sometimes what has to happen for them to be convinced. I'm not convinced that anything can happen. I think that anyway. That's enough about that. Priya, same question to you. So sustainability is often described as the right thing to do. So why has it now become a business survival strategy?
Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to talk about something in terms of sustainability, as sustainability is no longer preparing for the future. It is about remaining relevant in the future. So, of course, as a survival strategy, it should be about resilience, competitiveness, and future readiness. So, as a auditor, I would just suggest to be like companies going for this climate risk and manage resources, engage their stakeholders to adapt various regulations which is prevailing in UAE, and they should be avoid by changing their approach, business approach, and evolving sustainability in their current business. And also, as a auditor, I'm supporting all this company in building their sustainability plan.
Okay, thank you for that.
Right.
And so, what are the biggest misconceptions business leaders have about sustainability, do you think?
Okay.
Krishna, do you want to answer that first?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. Thank you, Michael. So some of the common misconceptions surrounding around sustainability is that, oh no, we've got to bleed out our wallet to ensure that we're sustainable, or invest in huge amounts of capex just to ensure that we're sustainable. The biggest misconception of all, you don't add value to the company, or you don't add much monetary value in terms of change. But I'd like to say that being present itself is the biggest achievement or the biggest impact you can have in a role or in a company. So I think it's time for us to like break all these myths and all these misconceptions, revolving around sustainability. Because not only does a sustainability professional bring about change, scale up the impact, and also bring about good culture, just in terms of their profits, or in terms of their environmental competitiveness, or just in terms of their overall efficiency, performance. So yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Same question for you, Priya.
Yes.
What are the biggest misconceptions business leaders have about sustainability?
See, mostly if we consider sustainability, the biggest misconceptions, it is about it's mostly people are thinking that it's primarily a cost rather than a value driver, because most of the time we have seen that, and mostly the organization, they believe it as a reporting requirement or the compliance part, but basically it should be built in our own system. I mean, if we see, if it comes in terms of long term business value through improved operational efficiency, then risk management part, the various innovations which is going on, and first of all, there should be a proper strong stakeholder trust. So all these are the factors. And another misconception that we have seen, that it is being followed for the sustainability team, whereas it should be among all the departments in the company. It should be a primary goal for everyone. It should not be limited to the sustainability department, that is their duty to uh, have sustainability in the future. So that is my concept for sustainability.
All right, thank you very much. Return to supply chains. Now, the UAE is nicely placed. You've got Asia to the right, Asia to the top right, Europe to the top left, Africa to the to the bottom left, which is not a very scientific way of putting of saying north, south, and west. But just talk to me a little bit about how supply chains are becoming a major sustainability focus area in the UAE. Actually, would you like to go first with this one, Priya, and then I'll ask Krishna the same question.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if we consider as supply chain, so this is like UAE serving as a straight gateway through Europe, Asia, and Africa. So we have seen that in terms of supply chain, there is so much disruption during this war and the global, what is geopolitical things going on. So of course, everyone is affected by this part. I mean, because of that, organization is focusing mostly on their supply chains, emission reporting part, whereas supplier engagement, and they are also planning for resilience and all. So, supply chain is playing a major sustainability focus in UAE at present, because often that's account for the largest share of companies' carbon footprinting and also the sustainability risk. And also in terms of if you see organization are increasing their mostly scope 3 emissions where they are integrating sustainability to procurement team. So that is how supply chain is playing an important role in UAE specifically now.
Okay, and same question for you, Krishna. How supply chains becoming a major sustainability focus area in the UAE?
Well, as Priya said, the major parts towards the carbon emissions, as we call it as scope 3, is attached to our entire value supply chain. And because of these geopolitical tensions rising around in the Middle East and elsewhere, has really hampered down people's efforts in towards obtaining proper supply chain, either just in time or hoarding up their stocks or whatnot. So I think these situations have helped us understand how and why it is important for us to surround ourselves with suppliers within our context. For example, we can try going with backward integration where you have emphasized all of your suppliers to be locally spread across, and then you wouldn't really have to necessarily focus on your supply chain coming from China or from Europe or from anywhere else from the world. So since we're in the Middle East, I'd say instead of getting all your supplies coming from China, and then because of the war or because of any geopolitical tension, it's cut off, and then you're halted with your process. So instead, you just pair up, or just come to an agreement with your local supply chain, and then you'll have no tensions or no problems with risks associated with supply chain. And also, one thing which I might add is that transparency. There's a lot of trouble floating around with transparent data around supply chain because most suppliers don't really necessarily give out their entire value carbon chain emissions associated with supply chain, which can be a hindering problem for manufacturers or for new consumers. As if they are very particular about their scope 3 emissions, then bridging the gap with their data transparency can help them become better suppliers themselves. So I think in the UAE or in the Middle East, uh, surrounding themselves with more local supplier players in the game and being able to count on better, accurate, transparent data would, I think, would bolster supply chain in the UAE as well. So yeah.
All right, okay, thanks for that. So I want to turn to business risk rather than, so why is it, why should businesses in the Middle East view climate risk as a business risk rather than an environmental issue, do you think? Priya, you're coming at this from a sort of consulting point of view. How do you
Of
feel about that?
course, of course, Michael, as we have just discussed about the supply chain risk, so it is similarly climate risk if you compare. So, climate risk is attached to the business risk because it can affect your business operations, supply chain cost, regulatory compliance, whereas you have access to finance and also for the brand reputation if you see. So mostly if you see in UAE, so UAE is now focusing on physical transition, climate risk, as well as the challenges which they are facing and they are building decarbonization pathways and also managing their climate risk, which is essential for the long term resilience and in building the competitiveness among the other countries. So that is the pathway for everyone. I mean, business are facing increasingly pressures from their investors, the customers, and also the regulators to understand how exactly to manage and measure their climate impacts. So, as a auditor, we are helping organization in building their climate risk report wherever they are facing problem in terms of building their climate related issues in terms of waste, water, and other environmental areas where we provide them support in building the decarbonization and net zero, which should be aligned with the 1.5 degrees centigrade, which everyone is aiming for, the net zero target. For UAE, it is like 2050. The government has given the target. So every organization is about to reach their target and they're aiming for that. So that is how climate risk is becoming as a business risk rather than an environmental issue. That's from my side.
All right. Okay. Okay. Thanks. So regulation in the UAE. There's the UAE's got a climate change law. Can you just talk a little bit about this climate change law and how it's changing the sustainability landscape? Um, how big a deal is this for businesses in the region?
See,
Chris, oh, sorry, Priya. No, you carry
yeah, as we can see, this climate change law, which has been effective from the year 2024 May, but as of now, companies are still having their datas, which is yet to be reported. And as per the rule, it should be completed within May 2026. However, this has been the deadline is extended because the companies are still going for their scope 1, 2, and 3 emission data. So that is also based on the supply chain, and we are seeing how the situation is currently, and it is affecting even the companies in terms of building their decarbonization and net zero goal. So that is how we need to abide by the law, and as per UAE government, there should be a proper way and channel. So whereas we as a consultants, we as a auditors help in building their decarbonization roadmap.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that. So
Yeah. Thank you.
and so so is this climate law really change in UAE, Krishna, or is it something that businesses are sort of doing anyway?
Right. So there's a two-part for this question, Michael. I'd say companies are afraid that if they don't do it, then there could be a repercussion to it. And then companies are also looking at it as a thing for them to do. So they're even enthusiastically going about it. So when there's a failure to comply with this law, companies could be fined anywhere between 500,000 dirhams to 2 million dirhams, depending upon the number of occasions and they repeat it. So and then there's also the different sanctions they can get. So, for example, there's something called as the ICV, International Country Value. So, if companies do register themselves with that, then they get some tax benefits as well with the supply chain. So, I'd say it's a bit of both and this. So yeah, if companies do understand that if they are climate risk resilient, and if they have done this assessment for themselves, and then they understand that okay, we're not entirely risk bound, we're also a company that is sustainable, but in terms of their operations or in terms of the supply chain, it shouldn't make much sense, because in the end, how you do things is what reflects about your sustainability goals, and the compliance or regulation shouldn't necessarily define yourself as a sustainable company, right? So yeah, I think the government or the regulation bodies putting in efforts and pressures to uh, clamping down the ill effects of a company not being able to, decarbonize themselves or trying to come up with their net zero goals to meet up with the IPCC's laid down 1.5 global temperature, that's okay. Sustainability is still a rather new concept in the UAE, and people are still trying to embrace it over. So, they're starting slow with reporting their scope 1 and scope 2 emissions, as laid out by the Abu Dhabi's new federal law through the DMRV, as we call digital measuring, reporting, and verification. So, companies have to start giving out their GHGs. So, as Priya said, the extension for the May 2026 has been extended. So I think companies should use this time as a golden period to understand their entire carbon emissions associated in their whole value chain and try to come up with a path and then just go about it. It's not the end of the day if you can't report or if you can't comply. Maybe it is, but we'll just keep it sporty for now.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's more of like building your own company's reputation, brand, and of course, being a sustainable company. So it all matters to be a part of like sustainable goal as well as meeting the target for UA too. I mean, if everyone
Right.
thinks in this manner, so of course everyone will achieve this target of 2050. So let's start building all the
Let's start
data.
small and somewhere, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay. So can we talk about technology first? UAE? Where's the greatest? So what's going on in the technology landscape in the UAE? Where do you see the greatest opportunity
Okay.
for technology and sustainability?
Right. Michael, the first thing which I can think about technology and its challenges would be collecting data and then being able to verify it. So right now in GHGs, as people know, there's scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3, right? So scope 2 emissions is pretty much easy. Just take your utility bills, convert it with the grid emission factor, and you've got your carbon emission, right? But scope one, there's several branched out segments in it. You've got your fugitive emissions, you've got your operational emissions. It can be a bit tricky. So if you don't have the necessary hardware in place in your factories or in your warehouse or in your operational centers, it can be a bit hard for us to understand that. And then if there's no sort of a database system, so you have to manually do everything. You have to manually start taking the data, assimilate it, collate it with everything, and then I think Priya would jump in to save us. An auditor like Priya would come in to help us save us, rebuild the data, and then yeah. So I think technology, it's not just tied up with technology, it's also tied with the personal around it. So I think shortage in tech as well as shortage in personnel can cause a bit of a problem, especially for people starting out in a smaller company, building the database and then calculating it and then being able to put it on a dashboard, not being able to integrate it with AI and not being able to predict it with ML and whatnot. So I think these are some of the starting problems, starting minor challenges facing for a person or for a company, I'd say.
All right. And what about you then, Priya? So you're going to step in. What's? Can you talk me through that?
Yeah, yeah, of course. As Krishna already said about this AI part, so as we can see, UA is dealing in all this AI related work where they are building organizations who are having this DMRV, which is like EAD Abu Dhabi. So they are digitally putting their data there, and with the help of that reporting framework, they are able to see their GAG accounting part. And of course, through AI tools, we are building many of the scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 calculations where it will be easy for everyone to feed their data, and they can easily view, even if someone wants to view it publicly, so they can have the user ID password, and through that they can of course see their GHG emissions data. So that's an important role as everyone, because see, Excel and all is like sometimes there can be manual error in that, but of course if we are building a technology for that, so of course that will be very helpful for anyone. And I mean the companies, even for us as an auditor or a consultant, so that will be a helpful tool for all of us.
Okay, thanks. Now, there are an awful lot of sustainability frameworks available at the moment. Everywhere you look, there seems to be a sustainability framework. Oh, look, there's one over there. Oh, there's one on my shoe. They're everywhere. Where do organizations begin? Priya.
So, if we consider the framework, sustainability frameworks, there are mostly in UAE, if you see, they are mostly going for GRI, as well as it depends upon supply engagement. I mean, if the supplier is from Europe, so you need to follow CSRD. If there is something which is associated with some other nations, regions, then of course that framework should be adopted. So, but as we can see in GRI, we are almost covering all the aspects of climate risk and all. So these are the areas where organizations should focus on based on their requirement as well as customers, suppliers' requirement. They can decide, and we help them in building the decarbonization as for the net zero 2050 and the sustainability framework. So even we build we help in building the ESG strategy framework where there is ESG reporting part. As for that, companies can provide us the data, and where we can build them in giving them the report, ESG reporting based on the datas of scope 1, 2, and 3. And also on the climate risk part, we give the data for them as required by as an auditor. I can tell you that we need to have all the data in place, then only we can have a proper reporting in place.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. And do you want to come in on that one, Krishna, about how do
Right.
you start
So,
research?
so to what Priya said, I think she pretty much covered everything. I was just thinking about what one of my ex-managers said, that, for you to start working on your first ESG report or your first sustainability report, I think you should just quickly start off with even 60, 70% of your data and then start building on that, and then start worrying about the quality of the data later. Because if you don't start somewhere, you're not going to end up anywhere, right? So that's something which I just wanted to get off with. And then coming from a reality background, for us, I think GRI and GRASB is very much in relevance, because let's face it, UAE is a very built environment, concentrated business in this country, in this continent, I'd say. So GRESB is something that a lot of realty companies are following. And as Priya rightly mentioned, that GRA does cover a lot of topics: biodiversity, supply chain, climate risk, and then carbon emissions, resources, a whole bunch of them. And if we do deal with suppliers, or uh, maybe customers in the European context, then CBAM and VSME is something which we might have to look into. So, as a in-house sustainability professional, things which we follow are generally the GHE reporting, which is a mandate by the UAE government, and then GRA is something which we have been working on head and toes, and then the decarbonization pathway, which is in alignment with SBTI, and so on and so forth.
All right, okay, thank you. So we're drawing to quite near to a close now. I've just got a couple more questions to go. Let's turn to the theme of today: sustainability as a survival strategy. What does that actually mean in practical terms, Krishna?
Okay, so I can't think of a better situation or a better position right now. From the past 2 months, everyone's been facing turmoil over, because of geopolitical situation right now, correct? So right now, you need to weigh in sustainability as a survival tool to survive in this
Okay. Well, as Krishna's disappeared, can I hand that question over to you, Priya, and then Oh, hang on, he's back. Oh, he's
Yeah,
back. Oh,
of
he's back.
Apologies,
course.
apologies
Okay.
for
Right.
that. Yeah, okay. So, as I was saying, I can't think of a better situation or an example right now, because 2 months ago, when the whole geopolitical situations have been putting an entire strain on the global supply chain, companies who have gauged and weighed in on their strategy as sustainability as a survival tool have really, I'd say, become more resilient. For example, some manufacturers based out of the UAE have got stock of supply chain, right? And they've started focusing on their waste management, and then they've started focusing on their operational carbon, and then their operational waste reduction. So all of these have been streamlined in such a way that their energy is not being wasted, that their resources are not being used so much. So I think when you use sustainability as a survival tool set in both your strategy and in your on-ground operations, and also in all the aspects of your life which you do, I think it certainly does help you out become more resilient in the future, I'd say, where you don't have to necessarily rely upon the global supply chain, where you could still work out on by yourself by focusing on your local supply chain as well. So I'd say companies should be reinforcing their supply chain strategies by looking out for alternative vendors or alternative suppliers in their region or in their country, and then also trying to understand what their energy demand is and trying to meet up with them, and maybe sort of try to integrate with renewables to ensure that they are still safer, and then maybe take part in biodiversity initiatives to ensure that they are climate risk resilient. Uh, Sorry about that. I think it's just a fire alarm. It's fine. It's just a routine thing. Yeah, it's gone off. Thank you. Yeah, so for example, you have the mangroves, right? People do take part in mangrove restoration projects in the UAE to ensure that they act as carbon sinks and carbon sinks, and then also they provide resilience towards floods coming in. It's such a big for debacle, spectacle. Whenever it rains, it really does pour. So yeah, I think when you come and ingrain yourself in these initiatives, I'd say you're surviving, not just for yourself, but even for the future coming generations. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. So this. Oh, same question to you, Priya. What is survival? The UA can often be described sustainability as a survival strategy.
Yeah,
What does
so
that mean in practical terms?
as we can see, historically, sustainability was often viewed as a reporting or requirement or a corporate sustainable reporting part. It was a part of CSR activity, but as we can see now, sustainability has become a kind of core business activity among all the UAE organization. Everyone is engaging themselves for the sustainability reporting part, as well as also they're seeing that companies are realizing more on profit part, where the sustainability is playing a important role. They're going for net zero goal, which is aligned by climate resilience, and as per the shift which is being national initiatives taken as UAE National Strategy 2050. And through that, sustainability has become an economic growth opportunity among everyone. It's not just an environmental obligation, it is a part of our routine, and companies are obviously they are aiming for their better sustainable initiatives in terms of survival strategy.
All right. Thank you. One last question for you, Priya. First of all, I need you to define something and then talk about it. TUVSUD. Can you define what that is? And then how can that help companies navigate sustainability as start again? How can that help companies navigate sustainability as a business survival strategy? So TUVSUD.
Yeah, so being a part of TÜVSÜD, it's like globally, TÜVSÜD is everywhere. You can find their presence in almost all the nations all over the world. So, as a part of TUFSUD team, I would like to stress more on the areas where we work. So we have various domain, but being a part of sustainable group, I'm taking care of all the sustainability related initiatives, which is through providing climate resilience and sustainability framework development, decarbonization roadmap, ESG strategies, as well as we help building organizations in terms of climate risk data, climate finance. So wherever there is a net zero 2050 initiative, we are there and we have been working with the organization for almost 10 15 years in building their climate related data, climate risk initiatives. So of course I have been working in this area for almost 12 years now, and I love to be engaged with various organizations in terms of sustainability initiatives.
Okay, well, thank you very much, guys. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for watching. The recording of this episode will be sitting here on LinkedIn for pretty much the rest of eternity. And see you all next week. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much,
Thank you, Michael,
Michael.
and thank you,
Thank you,
Priya.
Krishna.
Thank you for this lovely opportunity. And yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, we had a great interactions and
We did.
pleasures. Yeah, actually.
Great. All right. Well,
Hope.
that's fantastic. Well, thank you very
Okay.
much indeed. Thanks
Yeah,
again.
Take care and stay safe. Bye.
yeah.